Hello, I'm Kobe Kushner. I'm an analyst here at Red Cloud Securities. A big thanks to the TMX group for sponsoring this session. Our next presenter is Charles FitzRoy. He's the CEO of Bradda Lithium. Bradda is a pure play US focused lithium company that's advancing the full spectrum of lithium deposits from brines to clays to pegmatites. Charles, you have 15 minutes, which will follow with a 5-minute Q&A session. Viewers, ask your questions at any time.
Thanks, Kobe. Yes, as mentioned, we are a UK-listed lithium developer with assets in the US. Our assets are in Arizona and Nevada. We have sedimentary assets in Arizona, pegmatite assets in Arizona, and brine assets up in Nevada. Alongside listing on the AIM, which we did last year, we listed in July last year, had a very successful IPO, raised over £6 million. We listed on the OTC recently. And that is something which has helped our ongoing strategy. The company is developing lithium assets in the US. We're very unique in the fact we have all three types of lithium, so brines, pegmatites, and sedimentary assets. We finished our first drill program last November, and we're going to have a resource update from that in this quarter. We're also in the process of doing our second drill program, so we've been very busy since IPO. This is enabled from our IPO funds, and also we signed a deal with Lithium Royalty Corporation in December last year, whereby we secured just over $10 million for a royalty on our sedimentary assets. 8 million of that is earmarked for the sedimentary assets, and then 2.5 million was from a private placement, which we can use for any of our assets going forward. So we've had a very strong start to our listed life and big year ahead for Bradda. As a company, we understand we need to get all our three asset types, our pegmatites, our brines, and our sedimentary assets. We need to get them to where they are low production cost, net zero carbon, battery quality, lithium end product producers. And how do we get there? Well, we know we need to increase our resources as our sedimentary assets because we only drilled a very small percentage of our 47 square kilometers there. We need to develop our processing technology at the sedimentary assets because that's vital, and increase the knowledge of our brine and pegmatites. So how are we doing that? Well, we're accelerating drilling at all three areas of our lithium exploration strategy. We finished our first drill program at our sedimentary assets in December, and we're in the process of our second one. We're prioritizing our assets through remote sensing and geophysics to make sure we are not drilling unnecessarily. And we've added key team members. We've had an ESG professional, technical consultant, and a processing consultant. We've also started our second phase of metallurgical test work, which is building on previous test work. And that has proved very positive so far. We're moving on to the second phase of that now. And we're targeting geophysics, as I said earlier, to make sure we're not doing any unnecessary drilling. And all this is leading towards a big year for us. 2021 was a build year for Bradda. We put all things in place to enable us to put performers out to the market. And we've got a lot of catalysts coming for 2022. We've got a resource update coming out, our Basin East project, which I'll talk about a bit later. Potential maiden resource coming from our Wiki-Up project, which we're drilling now in Q2. And then throughout the rest of the year, we've got results from our pegmatites in Q3. And then we'll be permitting at our other sedimentary assets in Arizona and drilling at them progressively through the year for further resource expansion. And then we're going to be drilling at our brines later in this year. So all this is going to be further understanding of our pegmatites combined with 3D modeling, understanding of our brines, what's going on there, and then progressive resource expansion in our sedimentary assets. Excuse me. The share price chart here is slightly out of date because it was from January. As of last night, we closed at about 17p. So that's just over 200% our share price has moved since IPO last July. So over 7 months, 200%. There's a long way to go for the company. As I said, we've only drilled on a very small percentage of our sedimentary claims, about just over 2% of our 47 square kilometers where our current resource sits. We haven't drilled on our pegmatites and we haven't drilled on our brines. So there's a huge amount of growth for the company. And we've got a very strong team behind us. Ian Stalker's our chairman. Ian himself spent 30 years in Africa, built 12 mines, very experienced, understands how to grow small companies. Myself, I'm a geologist by background. I spent 5 years in the British Army before working in exploration drilling, and I did a master's in economic geology and worked at Citigroup on their metals and mining M&A team, worked in BlackRock, Beverly Hamro, and then also did time working as a mining analyst in London before working on China Moly's corporate development strategy team. whereby I did a lot of work looking at lithium. And that's why I jumped to the opportunity to be part of a company which has 3 types of lithium assets in the US, in Arizona and Nevada, which are fantastic jurisdictions for developing projects. Got a very supportive board and also consultants on board as well. Jim Mellon's our largest shareholder. And then our consulting team runs fantastic. We've got Adam Hawkins, who our ESG professional I mentioned earlier, who's helped us put together our ESG policy and is helping us on the ground in the US. And then Don and Utendra helping us from processing and technical side of things to make sure we are growing the company and returning value to shareholders, which since IPO we've done a very good job of, and we're looking forward to the next steps for the company from these catalysts from the year ahead. We have got a good ESG policy in place, which Adam's helped us to make sure we're engaging with the local stakeholders, local community, and local tribes in the area to make sure there's a very strong relationship from the start, because we want to be there for some time and develop a project there. We want to make sure we're giving back to the community. Bradda is a unique play, and this slide here is marginally out of date. There's actually more gigafactories popping up than on this map currently. So the demand is actually growing. Right now, the US produces a very small amount of lithium, around about 5,000 tons from its Albemarle Silver Peak operation. And the demand that's coming is massive. Benchmark Minerals are saying, looking at sort of 350,000 tons of lithium is required by 2030. So there's a big gap there. And that's where Bradda jumps in. We're here developing assets in Arizona and Nevada. And if you look at this chart here on the right-hand side, you can see carbon intensity versus capital intensity. So in the orange circles, you've got pegmatites. In the blues, you've got brines, and green in its clays. Just a sort of real rough overview of lithium. Most pegmatites are coming from Australia, where they are mined to make into a concentrate and sent to China to be processed and then sent on to the rest of the world. Most brine operations are in South America, and the clay operations currently in Mexico, North America, and also in China. Pegmatites are high on the carbon intensity, but low on capital, whilst brines are the opposite. We're developing our projects in the US for the US market, and we believe we'll be able to reduce the carbon intensity for many reasons. One is, if you look at the map, we'll be able to reduce our transport requirements, and also we are focusing our assets to make sure they are low carbon as possible and also environmentally conscious as possible. A good comparison of our Basin East project is American Lithium's TLC project. To give it some sort of understanding of the scale of our project, we're about to put a resource upgrade out this quarter. Before that, the resource we have covers about 2% of Bradda's 47 square kilometers. American Lithium, their TLC project, their resource covers about 40% of their 30 square kilometers of their current TLC. I know they've had an acquisition recently, so they've got about 52 square kilometers, but the area they've drilled is about 40% of that. You can see the potential resource growth from our company. If you look at a similar grade profile of TLC, American Lithium had a very good share price appreciation in the last year and a half, and Bradda is doing well so far, and we are just starting as a company. A lot of catalysts ahead of us for the year ahead, going into 22 and 23. If we look at this map, this shows our sedimentary assets in Arizona. We've got our Wiki project, which is this area here, just circling on the map. And you've got Basin, just down here. As you can see, just east of our Basin project, you've got Freeport's Baghdad copper mine, which has been in operation for about 100 years. So you can see it's a very mining-friendly jurisdiction. You've got Highway 93 as well, running through Wiki up there. Infrastructure's there, mining-friendly jurisdiction, end users not far away, Nevada, Texas, battery end users there. We're in the process now of drilling our Wiki project, and we've finished drilling our Basin project back in November, where the resource is coming shortly. It's going to jump onto the next page. So here we are at our Wiki project here. We are at the process of drilling up at our northwest area, section 13 and 12. As you can see, all these claims here surround Arizona Lithium, which is our neighbor, which they've got a resource just in here. Our claims surround them, and Arizona Lithium got a very good grade. They're about 1850 ppm. We're drilling a Wiki because we've done surface sampling in the area, which has demonstrated the presence of lithium at surface, and now we're doing drilling there to understand more. This program will finish shortly, and then we'll be getting the assays back and getting the resource for this in Q2 of this year. We've done geophysics over the whole area, so we know the clay's there. We're just in the process of drilling it now. This next page shows our Basin project, which is just next to Freeport's Baghdad copper mine. We finished a drill program in November last year, whereby we did 10 drill holes, 7 new drill holes, and 3 drill holes twinning a previous 2018 program. The reason why we twinned them was because if you look on the block section to the left here, you see there's an upper clay zone and a lower clay zone. The previous 2018 program, some of the holes didn't go through to that lower zone. So we put three old holes in, which were twinning the upper zone drilling and then going to that lower zone to help us do resource expansion there. Also, if you look at the map, you'll see where there was an old fault running through here. We now understand that fault is actually further to the southeast. And that's important because the upper zone is higher grade than the lower zone. So now we've showed that where we thought the previous fault was here. We know it's now here. So all this area of upper zone has now been created, which is really good for us. And importantly, from the geophysics we've done and the drilling, we can see that the upper zone thickens to the west and the northwest. So it thickens that way. We know it thickens into our Basin East extension claim and potentially into Basin North and Basin West. So we're in the process now of permitting our Basin East extension and our Basin North and this east side of Basin West. So these three areas, or four areas, including Basin East, will join up for a nice resource. And that's what 2022 is. We'll be progressively permitting these claims and we'll start drilling. So towards the end of the year, we'll have another resource upgrade once we've drilled at Basin North, Basin East extension, and then the east side of Basin West. And after that, we'll move on to permitting and drilling Basin West extension and the west side of Basin West. So this will form a large resource. And we've done surface sampling over all these claims. We know that lithium's there at surface, and now we need to drill to work out how deep it is and what happens below. So it's a very exciting year ahead for our Basin project and Wiki-Up. And then we go on to our pegmatites, which is also in Arizona, called San Domingo. We like to compare our pegmatite project to a company called Liontown Resources Kathleen Valley, whereby you see on the top of this slide, you'll see a cross-section across Kathleen Valley, where they've got thin pegmatites at surface and then deep feeder systems at depth. We're in the process of planning a drill program for Q2 this year to test this thesis at our project. We've done some geophysics, which has enabled us to see down to about 90 meters. We can see that past the 90 meters, the potential for our pegmatites extend at depth. Now we need to test that by drilling. So we'll be doing 30 drill holes later this year, 15 at a sort of 150 meters deep, and then about 15 about 300 meters deep. And this will enable us to understand more about our pegmatites, because you can see from the map here, there's a 9-kilometer strike. So it is a big area. These pegmatites were mined back in the 1940s and 50s. Some really good grades. In areas we've had grab samples up to 8%. Over some of the old workings, we've had grades between 1% to 2%. So we're very excited about getting going there. This program will be later this year, and then the results from that will be Q3. This could be a bit of a game changer for the company, because whilst our clay projects, Basin and Wiki-Up, are very exciting, and we're getting going there with the drilling and the network, progressing the network, the world understands pegmatites and it understands brines. It'd be much easier for us to get a pegmatite project into operation more quickly than a clay asset. So this would change the company's focus potentially if we demonstrate there's a viable pegmatite there. That's what's very exciting for us as a company. So big year ahead from us. And then, we've spoken about the clay assets, spoken about the pegmatite assets, haven't even gone to the brines yet. Now we're looking at the brines up in Nevada. We've got our Wilson and Eureka brine projects. We've done deep geophysics, so something called magnetotellurics, to enable us to understand what's going on below surface up to 2,000 meters. We can see at both of the projects, there's potential for a brine reservoir. We've tested water at Eureka, nearby hot springs, which has lithium values, anomalous lithium values. And also we tested water about a kilometer east of our Wilson project showing anomalous lithium values. So we're looking forward to getting going there and testing the brines. We also have potential for lithium clay projects there. Both our Wilson and Eureka, we found lithium at surface. So Eureka, Wilson, we've got grades up to 180 ppm. Eureka, about 550 ppm. So we'll be doing a shallow clay drilling program and also deep brine drilling program at both of these projects to see what's going on. Now you can jump on to the next slide. I can show you that big year ahead for Bradda. Lots going on, lots of catalysts, solid resource growth at our clay assets. You see here, we're progressing all of those on going through the year, pushing into next year where we'll be putting together an early stage technical study. That's the goal here. Our pegmatites, we've got a understanding more about the assets. We're in the process of doing a 3D model of all our pegmatites, and they'll be drilling in Q2 this year, and that will enable us to understand the scale potential there. And then our brines, we'll be doing shallow drilling and deeper drilling towards the end of this year to understand the potential there. So a lot going on with Bradda. We've got funding to be able us to drill out our clay assets from the royalty provision. And we've also got funds from IPO and from the placement recently to help drilling out with the brines and the pegmatites. So by the end of this year, we'll know a lot more about all our assets, and we'll have grown our resources dramatically at our clay assets. So really exciting year ahead for Bradda. Since IPO, we're up about over 200%. And I think this year is going to be another growth year for us as a company. At this point, we hadn't drilled our pegmatites, we haven't drilled our brines, and we've only scratched the surface of our clay assets. So once we get resources on the board for our clay assets, results from drilling at pegmatites and from the brines, the market will understand more value we have, and that's why we're such an undervalued stock right now. The management and board are very supportive of us as a company, own about 22%. Very strong shareholders, had some good shareholders buying on the market and finding good positions since listing. The company has low political risk, based in Arizona and Nevada. Very big geological upside. We have pegmatites, brines, and clay assets. We're unique in that way. I don't know any other juniors who have all three asset types. Our risk is lower for that reason. Infrastructure is great. End users great. Developing US lithium projects for the US domestic market. And yeah, any questions?
Well, Charles, thanks for the great presentation. Definitely some exciting times ahead. We'll now begin with the Q&A portion. So you guys recently did some met testing at Basin. And what did you guys learn? What did you learn about the mineralogy? What is it that's hosting the lithium here?
So yes, it was really good testing. It built on our previous testing. It showed us actually some exciting results that we were, that's why we did it, because we weren't sure what was going to happen. And we found out that the fluorine content in our clay is actually enabling us to extract more lithium than previously understood. So we got some very high extraction rates. We've got 99% extraction within 1 hour from our lithium, which is obviously extremely high. Now, I must note that this is early stage stuff, but very promising. And it's led us to move on to our phase 2 program to understand more about that. It is good results, and we're looking forward to getting going on the second phase, and those results will be out Q2, Q3 this year.
So thanks, Charles, and everyone on the line for joining us. Next up, we have a company called Global Atomic, and they're going to be discussing uranium.